Hello and welcome to Krimmy Krafts. I'm Allie. If you like to do arts and crafts or DIY stuff just for fun, or you like to create gifts for your friends and your family, then this is definitely the channel for you, because we are all amateurs here and we wouldn't have it any other way. So today what we are gonna make is a very fun DIY key ring, which I think would be the perfect housewarming gift for a friend, family member, whoever, anybody who's just moving into a new apartment or a new home. So what you'll need in order to make your DIY key ring holder is some paint, the color of your choice, and a paintbrush, your wood that will be used as the key ring holder, the hooks to hold the keys, and all of these things you can totally find at either Michael's or Joann's. You will also need a stencil for your wording. I will be using my Cricut and my mat and vinyl to create the stencil. However, if you don't have a Cricut, you can just either go to a Michael's or Joann's and you can pick up a already made stencil, or you can create one just by cutting out a stencil of your own with scissors and paper. So then I prepared my stencil in Cricut Design Space. I basically just typed out Home Sweet Home and then the names I wanted to use on the bottom with a little heart design. And once my stencil was ready, I attached it to the mat and hit Make It. Then that brings me to the print setup screen, where I just did another double check to make sure that the stencils were placed on the mat where I wanted them. And once the stencil was ready and centered, I hit continue. And then that takes me to the vinyl selection screen, where I'm going to hit premium vinyl, because that is the vinyl that I am using for this stencil. So once my vinyl is attached to the mat, I went ahead and loaded up my Cricut with the mat and hit cut. So Zoe wanted to join me as I do my arts and crafts. She didn't want to be too far away from Mommy. She's such a schmoopy. My cutie. And now that our stencil is cut, we're going to reverse weed out the letters, which is essentially where instead of peeling off the outside and leaving the letters intact, you're pulling the actual letters off so that we can paint on the inside of where the letters were. And once I finished weeding, I like to use my cutting tool to separate the vinyl, just to make it a little bit easier to adhere to the wood. Just because of the way that the wood had that crack in the middle, it ended up being easier to split apart the stencil than to keep it together when I affixed it to the wood. So in order to transfer the stencil to the wood, you'll need to use some transfer tape, and you can find this anywhere online or at a Joann's or a Michael's. You'll basically want to affix the transfer tape onto the stencil, and then I like to use my scraper tool just to make sure that the vinyl is definitely attached to the transfer tape. That'll just make it a lot easier when you pull off the backing of the transfer tape. And then the next step is, of course, to peel off the plastic of the transfer tape, and then once you have your stencil affixed to the transfer tape, you're going to want to apply it to the wood, making sure that it's center and where you want it to be placed. And then once it's placed where you'd like on the wood, you want to make sure to flatten out the stencil just to get rid of any air bubbles that might be there. And now that our stencil is affixed to our wood, we are ready to paint. I am using white acrylic Craftsmart paint. I just think that acrylic paint applies better to wood and lasts a lot longer. So then you'll just paint over your stencil until you're happy with the vibrancy of the paint. Depending on the quality of your paint, you may have to do a couple of different coats. I did about 5 coats of paint since I didn't think this was really the best quality paint to use. And make sure that each coat is dry before you add another coat of paint onto the stencil. So then the only thing left to do is just to add on the other stencil to the wood, add your coats of paint, let it dry, and then peel off your stencil. It helps to use the weeding tool to remove the little bits of letters. So now that our stencil is removed, we're ready to add the hooks onto the keyring holder. And I thought the easiest way to do this was to use a measuring tape and apply the hooks every 2 inches. And in order to do this, I used a little pen just to dot off where each 2-inch mark was. And the great thing about these cup hooks is that they have the screw on the end, so you can literally just screw them into the wood and you don't need any additional tools. So there you have it, guys. Once all of your hooks are screwed into the keyring holder, you're all done. Thanks so much for crafting with me today. I hope you have fun and that you learned how to do something new. Remember, keep it crafty. See you guys in the next one. Bye.